Meet me at the tavern, have a drink or two. I'm the eclectic goat, and I'm here to gab with you. We'll talk about immersion, adventure heavy lows, characters and story, warlocks and barbarians and bards, comedy or horror. We got inspiration if you're in need of it, or just need to hang out somewhere cozy. We're the guys for you, we've got time for you. Come and join the crew, here's what to do. Meet us at the tavern, have a drink or two. I'm the eclectic goat, and I'm here to play with you. We'll discuss the theory and the mechanics, how we ask for crits, Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards. Meet us at the tavern, have a drink or two. I'm the eclectic goat, and I'm here to play with you. We'll discuss the theory and the mechanics, how we ask for crits, Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards.
Hello, everyone. So this is our Hangover test stream. I fully expect we're going to have technical difficulties as we go, so I ask everyone to bear with us. How is everyone tonight in the chat? Thank you very much. I am absolutely delighted to have so many people here for our, drastic attempts.
I'm sure we'll make the most of it.
Thank
Is
you
it
very
considered
much.
cheating that I can't get a hangover on a hangover stream?
Well, I normally can't, but I succeeded today for both of us, so, there are exceptions to every rule.
And yes, since your theme song invited me, I am having a drink or six.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
So thank you very much to my panelists. Tomby is familiar to most of you. He is the reason that I managed to get this whole thing set up, and he is responsible for that snazzy song at the beginning.
Brilliant.
Tomby, say hi to everyone.
Good evening, chat. Thank you as well, Eclectic Goat, for the invite today. I'm actually massively excited to this because growing up, I didn't have much of an opportunity for tabletop stuff. And I only came into the tabletop realm partly through computer games, probably about a decade ago. And I'm gradually playing catch up with it. So I'm actually intrigued to hear the rest of the panel's thoughts behind things. I've actually gone down the lines of tabletop RPGs myself. So yeah, excited. I'm looking forward to the stream. Thank you very much indeed for the invite. And yes, Sammy, that was me singing, my friend. That was me singing.
No, that is arranged.
He has an amazing head voice.
Apparently.
I give good head. What?
Oh, ooh, hey, ooh.
Someone's going to clip
And-
that. Crap.
and
Of course they
so
are.
Crap.
And so it begins. Farv is also going to be next month on my author's interview. Tell us a little bit about you and your upcoming book.
Absolutely. First to answer a question, Dark Hour. I'm drinking an $80 bottle of Patron tequila.
Ugh,
Just so you
tequila
know,
and I don't get along.
I get along with most hard liquor, but I have preferences. I don't like beer. Tastes terrible. It's usually cheap crap. But anyway, I'm an author. I'm ex-military, married for 20 years this last year. Like I said, I'm an author. I also have a pretty decently long background in tabletop gaming, both board and pen and paper RPG. We weren't real big on D&D. We were for a while, but my brother and I kind of pulled away from it when we got into other systems that weren't as, I
Shitty. I mean,
hesitate to say, impaired.
That's very generously said.
I liked mine better.
Fair enough. It's more accurate.
All right. And then we have the alleged husband, strongly suspected by many to actually be a homeless guy that Yarn Witch has tied up in her basement.
Or possibly a series of homeless guys.
Kinky.
We'll see if my voice stays the same throughout streams or if it changes over time.
I was just going to say that. So yes, we have the Yarn Witch, so now we have the Man Witch. So
Yep,
please
the
introduce
man-
yourself.
The Man
So
Witch,
that's-
Yarn Witch's
that's-
alleged husband.
That's how that came about. I was wondering about that joke. I wasn't on the previous one, so I was wondering why they were calling him the Man Witch. I knew I'd seen the Yarn Witch before. I didn't have the correlation there.
Yeah, it's I started early on when she was streaming, and it's kind of developing a life of its own. Yeah, let's see. How did I get into gaming? I've been gaming sort of actively playing tabletop RPGs since high school. A good friend of mine in high school introduced me to D&D. Like a lot of people have that experience, and then I was kind of the guy in the gaming group who went, I think there's other things we could play besides D&D, and started introducing them to all sorts of different random things. And that's kind of becoming a running joke of its own. But yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. Got lots of different thoughts on it. Love chatting about this stuff. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what everybody has to say on it. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
So of course, apparently part of this whole thing got missed. So we're going to have to do it vocally. Other than pepperoni, because pepperoni is the Wizards of the Coast of the pizza world. What is everyone's favorite pizza topping? Chat gets to participate in this one too.
Oh, favorite.
That's tough.
You get
'Cause
bonus
even though
points if they're weird.
Even though I can't eat pizza no more, I got the Kuwaiti crud when I came back stateside. But I like mushrooms.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, what is my favorite apart from I actually like not Canadian bacon, but straight bacon on my pizza. That might be my favorite.
So
Back when I ate
mine's
pork
very
when
similar.
I was a kid, that was.
Yeah, mine's very similar. So in the UK, I can get what's called a Texas barbecue pizza. So it's chicken. So basically chicken strips. You've got bacon on there. You've got green peppers on there. And you've got barbecue sauce.
Those are actually really good. I know exactly the type. Those are one of the few I can eat usually without too much trouble.
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. And if it's not that, it's pepperoni dough balls. Give me pepperoni dough balls any day of the week.
So long as no one says pineapples is the
Yeah, as long as there's no pineapples near anything. Oh, yummy.
Well, I think my favorite topping consistently probably is mushrooms, but I am very partial to committing the heresy of pineapple pizza on a regular basis. So
it had to come up eventually.
Yep. There always has to be one of those guys somewhere around who's like, I like pineapple pizza.
I actually found that as much as people complained about it, I didn't have that much of an issue with anchovies.
No, they're just salty.
They're okay. They're just kind of salty is all. You got to be ready for it.
Most people don't realise that when you go and eat proper Italian, they use a
Mhm.
lot of anchovies as a base in sauces anyway,
Oh
and it
yeah.
just disintegrates and disappears.
I'm being used as a
My brother
Oh,
my
I
brother there in the chat says green olives are his favorite topping.
Ooh.
yak.
I'm my name is being used in blasphemy here with Abe.
Yes.
Ooh, I just noticed that.
Nope.
I have never heard of green olives on a pizza before. I've heard of black
There's
olives,
black
but
olives, yeah.
Yeah,
Normally it's
black
black
olives are common, but I think there's some places we have encountered where you can get green. We have a place around here called Papa Murphy's, and
Mm.
they have a selection of toppings you could just pick to put on it.
One of our friends, she does a lot of cooking at home, and she's partial to all sorts of exotic homemade recipes. And I know she's made some variations on Greek pizza that have feta and green olives and
Yeah.
Ooh,
all sorts of
that
different things on it. So
actually sounds
Yeah.
kind of good, if I'm being honest.
I will just add the fact that I don't actually like cheese. Cheese is disgusting.
Oh, that's
That
got to
makes
be a
pizza
bit
kinda
difficult
hard.
when making a pizza, don't it?
The thing is, the main reason I can eat a pizza is because normally I have very little cheese on it, and there's usually a flavor that overpowers the cheese, and that's where the
Okay.
barbecue sauce comes in.
You
But
know,
I
yarn
absolutely hate cheese.
Yarnwich, I kind of got to agree with that. Although I have mostly done like the margarita flatbread pizza, I actually find
Mhm.
this actually pretty decent.
Dark Hours just unsubbed. Yes,
This
I thought
became a
you'd be saying
pizza stream somehow.
2025 is the cheese unsubbed year. It's great. It's fantastic.
I do have to say that disliking cheese is a greater blasphemy than pineapple on pizza.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Fuck off. Now, bollocks.
Careful, don't piss off your editor.
Nope. Wormy,
So
no, cheese is disgusting. It smells like feet. Tastes like feet. Smells like
well,
feet.
it depends on what cheese. I mean,
True.
Who puts
is like
Limburger on their pizza?
cheese is like books. If you don't think you like cheese, you just haven't found the right one.
Mm.
Oh, there you
I
go.
like the analogy, but cheese is still weird. It's like solid
It's rot
milk.
it's
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 weird.
rotten milk. What's the problem?
Exactly.
Um
Hey, baby.
yeah, so
Let me
I
see if
was
you can find a
saying
copy of my book.
backstage that
Mm-hmm.
so I have a soy intolerance, and so there's only one pizza place near me that I can actually eat.
Oh,
You
man.
guys are gonna have I gotta whoop, nope, that's not the one I was trying to click on. There we go. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh
Oh,
God.
wow.
Oh.
As it goes
Oh.
wildly off the rails,
No.
just like an RPG session. The GM has a plan, and the players are like, nope, we're
Oh.
talking about pizza and feet.
Boy, have I dealt with that one before. Thank you, baby.
So anyway, this is gonna get more and more interesting because the place that I can get my pizza from is they have very strange flavors of pizza. So my plan is that for this stream, I am going to get a different kind every week until
Oh,
I've gone
interesting.
through
Oh
until
boy.
until I've gone through their whole menu except the pork stuff because I don't eat pork. So we
Pork,
started
pork,
off
pork.
with
Mm.
we started off with margarita tonight, but then
Mhm.
we're going to get into things like sweet potato and honey.
Yeah, that's just fucking
Um,
weird.
Oh,
I
my.
don't even. I still can't
Oh.
grasp that one. That one's like
Wow.
out in left field somewhere.
Oh, that's actually I remember that one. There are some of them that are so bizarre I can't even remember them. Every time I look at the menu, I just go, "What the?" all over again.
Now, I'm like, a lot of people, obviously, a lot of people in my chat will know, but I'm actually coming to the States in 5 months' time for a quite a long break because we're looking
Really?
at moving to the States in a couple of years.
Ooh, okay.
So one of the first things I'm going to be doing is sampling these pizzas. And if the pizzas are good, I will recommend. But if the pizzas are gack and they have got stuff like sweet potato and honey on them, I'm gonna bring tea, lots of tea bags. I'll be throwing tea bags at people in the streets. I'm gonna
Tommy's
take
going to be
over.
teabagging Americans left and right.
I will be
Oh,
teabagging
God.
every single pizzeria in existence.
Oh, it's gonna be a
Well-
reverse Boston Tea Party.
Yes, it is.
So we will swap you our weird pizzas for your weird crisps.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be bringing
Oh.
over boxes of crisps. At this rate, I'm going to be bringing over loads of British snacks.
Can you bring me some brown sauce? I can't get it here.
Yeah. Yep. HP, Houses of Parliament's brown sauce. Good.
I
Or
am
patties.
looking forward to the roast beef and mustard crisps. See, I even know to properly call them crisps.
I've almost finished my first box of those. They are phenomenal. They are really, really good.
Tomby's going to
Raise
get
his head.
arrested. Tomby's going to get arrested for smuggling British snacks in.
Yeah. Have you paid tax on your snacks?
Customs just intercepts him.
Yeah. I'll get bloody arrested as soon as I come through. What you do with all these snacks? I'm going to convert all the Americans because your snacks are garbage.
Too much. There's too much sugar in everything. I hate it.
And that's one of the things I noticed with, I think it was Orange Tango or something. It was one of the orange drinks. And you can physically see the difference in the colours. Like, the UK one actually looks like orange. The American one looks like it's radioactive.
I'll tell you, literally, just to give an example of how much I hate this, I don't eat cereal of any kind anymore. I barely eat any kind of candy unless it's dark chocolate from very specific places.
Yeah.
My coffee has been black since I've been 11 years old. I never put nothing in my coffee.
Amen.
And I only drink liquor, water, and coffee.
Okay, Tomby, Yarnwish is
Yes.
throwing down the gauntlet.
Uh-oh.
No, crisps. Chips,
I've been exposed to enough European culture, I can go either way.
Chips is what we have with fish and chips.
Or
Don't
burgers
have
here in the States.
fish and fries.
In the States, you have chips with burgers, but it's still the
Yeah.
same basic thing.
I have to say I tried a hamburger pizza once, and hot pickles on pizza just doesn't work for me.
Wait.
I love pickles.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it the local thing that a hamburger pizza has pickles on it? Because hamburger pizza here doesn't have pickles on it.
The gauntlet continues to be thrown here.
I see that.
It's a lot of comments back and forth here.
I'm going to win it because I'm going
What
to
I
bring
find-
over a packet that clearly says crisps.
What I
I'll be
find
like-
hilarious here is we have yet to talk about gaming. It's been pizza and chips for the last
like
5
20
minutes.
Hey,
20 minutes
Hey,
to stream is food.
the stream is called Slice and Dice. It's pizza and games. Get it straight.
That's fair.
This
You
is
did
true.
put that in the title.
Rachel, I don't know how I'd feel about that because, like I said, so it's like pineapple. I love pineapple, but not hot. That's why I can't deal with it on
Yeah.
pizza. It's not that I don't like pineapple on pizza; it's that I don't like hot pineapple.
I
Barbecue.
kind of like fried pickles, but not on pizza.
Barbecued pizza. Fucking barbecued pizza, you twat. Barbecued pineapple, which is what I was trying to say. Barbecued pineapple is next level.
Actually, I do like barbecued pineapple.
With a nice vanilla ice cream. Lovely.
I've never had it with ice cream before, but I did like it with chicken. I thought barbecued pineapple with chicken was very good.
That's almost as bad as pizza.
I don't know.
careful.
It depends on how you cook the chicken.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Be really careful because Dark Hour's in the chat. He has an aneurysm if you name interesting things like tea in your ice cream.
God, don't go to Japan. For fuck's
We
sake,
can't-
don't go
God,
to
no.
Japan.
Green tea
can't-
ice cream.
We can't be responsible for a death on our first stream.
Uh,
Well, we got plenty of people watching, so there's going to be plenty of witnesses.
apparently, yes.
How are we doing, guys?
All right.
Man.
So Tomby, you had a Final Fantasy board game,
did.
I think, which I did not even know was a thing.
Okay, wow. As somebody who actually grew up playing those games, I didn't know that existed either.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that?
Final
So-
Fantasy VII is still the best.
Yeah.
I don't argue with that at all.
I
mean, the thing is-
Uh-oh, we got a
We
dissent.
have it.
We have a dissenter in the panel.
We're going to have a fight now. We're going to have a fight.
pineapple pizza. Maybe 7 isn't the best Final Fantasy after all.
Okay, I'll be
Yeah, it's
real.
gonna get.
7 is my favorite. It may not be the best, but it's my favorite.
All right.
Yeah,
Alleged husband is definitely an artificial construct because no human being would.
I think 7 did a lot of great things, and it
Mhm.
was something. One of the biggest things that I think it did for just Final Fantasy and JRPGs is it really seemed to catapult both of those things into sort of the mainstream public
Mhm.
consciousness. Because I remember being in high school and seeing guys who had never even talked about video games or Final Fantasy before. All of a sudden, Final Fantasy 7, everybody was talking about it. It's on the PlayStation. It's got these amazing graphics for the time. So I actually do think 7 did a lot for the hobby and the intellectual property. But my favorite
Yarnwich.
personally is always Final Fantasy 6. I
I
think
would say
that one is
Yarnwich, to be
amazing.
fair, 6 was my second favorite. So we're not that far off base on that one.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know the argument comes down? And I think it's a fair argument.
Yeah.
If people played any Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Mhm.
6 before they hit 7,
Which I
generally,
did.
most of those people will say 6 is the best, if not say 2.
I must be the outlier in that because I did play the early NES era of FF games, but I
Yeah.
still ended up liking 6 and 7 better.
I played Final Fantasy 7 as my first one, my first entry into the series. And
Yeah,
as a
I can
result,
see.
because I played that one as my first one, that one I was hooked. That
To
was
be
it.
fair, I had what you could call external influence because I also played the Breath of Fire RPG series.
Ah, yeah.
So here's a question that like almost no one's ever heard of. Has anyone heard of Parasite Eve?
Yes, I love that game.
Heard of
Yep.
it, never played it.
Aya
It
Brea is awesome.
as much as I love Final Fantasy 7 and it gets all the credit for having, been a huge upgrade to graphics at the time, I think Parasite Eve was a better game.
Well, mechanically, it
At
might
least
actually have been.
story wise. So I'm one of those people that normally doesn't care about the story in a game. There are very few games that makes me care about the story. Parasite Eve, I think, was the first.
The interesting thing. Sorry. Slip of the tongue.
I
The interesting thing about Parasite Eve is it was actually based on a novel first.
I did not know that. So what
Yeah.
you're telling me is I need to do the book is better for a video game.
You might actually want to
That would
because
be
that
awesome.
is actually a novel that Parasite Eve was developed based on. It was a Japanese novel, so you might have to do a bit of digging, though.
I need a translation.
That's
All right,
possible. By
Tommy,
now, there's bound to be one.
show us the goods.
Yeah, so I'm just going through it at the minute. And so we've got our character. Our characters.
Hang on
So
a
we've
second.
got our.
How do I blow this up?
Oh yeah, how does she
Let
put that
me
screen?
blow
There we
go.
go.
myself up.
Awesome. There
Right,
we go.
okay, let's come out to about there. So you've got your various different levels. You've got your level 30s, your level 40s. So
I have a question before you get started.
go for it.
Is this based on like the Final Fantasy 14 kind of thing, or just Final Fantasy overall?
Final Fantasy 14.
That's what I thought. I
like that.
thought I
Yeah.
recognized the kind of the aesthetics of the character image there.
Yep. Everything is Final Fantasy 14 based.
Okay.
Characters you come across tie in quite closely with Final Fantasy 14. Even all the locations that you play in the game. I play Final Fantasy 14 quite regularly on a Sunday with Mirden and Smoother DJ.
I wanted to, but we had an issue when I logged in, and unfortunately, Square Enix tech support is absolute hot garbage, and they could never fix it for me, so I never got to play.
Yeah, and sadly that still happens to this day. There's still a lot of problems with getting accounts sorted. Now, I had a very similar problem when I started with Final Fantasy 14. I created the account directly from my email. Later, I purchased it through Steam, and you can't have two conflicting ones. So I ended up having to get in contact for them to kind of like amalgamate the two accounts and to play solely via Steam. But with this, obviously, you've got your character sheets. So you've got your tanks. You've got your tanks. You've got your healer. You've got your DPS. All of these are the classes and job roles that you would naturally find in the Final Fantasy XIV game, including all of the abilities. And the good thing is that all of the abilities just map straight across in terms of names. So it actually lends itself really, really well for anybody that's actually currently playing Final Fantasy XIV. Now, obviously, this is closely based on 5e,
Okay.
which is okay, fine. It's just more accessible. It's slightly retarded in ways, but it's been designed.
sorry.
All the ways. All
It's
the
just
ways.
been designed, in my view. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm fresh to Dungeons and Dragons from a tabletop perspective. It's made it a hell of a lot more casual, so you can get a lot more people into it that might not really want to spend the massive amount of times that I would have as a kid. If I had picked up Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, I'd have no-brained it all the time.
I can't argue that. If anything else, 5e being so popular did make it easier for some things that got converted into the 5e system to get more publicity, I guess you could say.
That
I
may
don't
be
like
true,
5e, but I do understand. Hey, Phoenix, good to see you.
that may be true, but as a game master and as a very long time game master, I don't think I don't think I take that back. I've played 2 games in the last 25 years. Other than that, I run everything.
I have a
Um,
terrible thing to admit on that. The last time we ran 5e was, and my brother in the chat may be able to remember, I think was over 12 years ago, and most of it was converted homebrew based on Bloodborne and a couple of other things that we got bored and just converted to make the game setting more interesting.
the issue I find is that people who start with 5e and who have never played anything else are not great players and have a very hard time converting to other games, whereas
You
people who start on
have,
other games can convert to 5e much easier.
I would say you have no idea, but you absolutely probably do. How many times I've encountered when we try to do Palladium Fantasy or Dead Rain or anything, and have that one guy at the table go, "Well, can't we just play D&D?"
Yeah. I've seen it with, and not just 5e, but I'd say D&D overall. That's been kind of a long-running problem, and it's been with my gaming group, something that's been kind of a lot of friction is trying to like get over that initial hump of even being willing to try some other system. Well, we could just do it in D&D, or why don't we just hack D&D for it? And
Yeah,
it's
can't
like,
we just adapt this to 5e? Was the other one.
some of the, and then
So-
5e has been, in some ways, I've heard people describe it as the lingua franca of of RPGs. So yeah, there is a useful common language there, but it creates this whole like laundry list of baggage that then you have to work through whenever you're trying to explain to
And-
somebody there are other
Hey,
systems, there are different
folks.
ways
Yeah.
of doing it.
Well, it just occurred to me the whole point was I didn't want to talk about D&D on this stream, and we've gone from
Whoops.
pizza to D&D basically. So
let's move on. Let's
Yeah.
move on.
let's let Tomby talk about his much cooler game,
Yeah,
even if it does look like it's based on 5e.
that's
Yeah.
terrible, Phoenix.
I mean, the thing is that I try and ignore 5e as much as I can do. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things. But the thing that really got me with purchasing this one and starting to invest time in it was the fact that because I'm playing the MMORPG already anyway, I can relate so much to it. It's almost like I already know the stories, I already know the characters. So for me, as kind of like running it as a games master or even running it as a player, I can immediately jump into this because I've, by virtue of playing the MMORPG, I've kind of like caught up on that lost time that I would have ordinarily have had playing when I was a child. And it's really, really good. I mean, the thing is that obviously with this being the first one I've come across, and this is the Games Master's book, for me,
It's very impressive looking, to be fair.
yeah, and the fact that there's multitude of different scenarios to get you started within the book, with all the necessary guidance for having a good campaign, having a good series of missions, how you're interacting with your players, how the NPCs are coming together, the various different encounters that you're going to have. He's actually laid it out in a way that actually helps me as a first timer to basically tabletop.
So Wild Child asked if it's a source book based on D&D 5e.
I think it's completely separate, but it's got a lot of parallels.
Okay.
It looks
So I
like
don't
Oh, it's a
think
board game. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
it looks like just looking at the stats and stuff here that it's maybe using, you know, a similar kind of basic concept, but has really taken it and like reworked it in its own direction. Because I'm seeing like 5 stats. They're using the straight bonus modifiers. What kind of dice does it use for resolution?
Good question.
It's
Wow.
just
Okay, they're
20s
mostly
and 6s.
D6s and
Okay.
20s. Okay.
yeah.
That's cool.
D6s and 20s. So you've got the various different colours, obviously, for the various different players. But obviously, D6s and D20s.
Yeah.
One of my hot takes on gaming is there's a lot of RPGs out there that try to introduce all sorts of like unique individual to that system proprietary dice with like custom symbols and all sorts of stuff. And
my
I
God.
understand why designers do some of that, but I hate it. I'm like, just give me
Well-
regular dice that I can pull out of a box or a gaming
My-
kit or something like that, and let's
They
go.
don't-
Yeah.
They don't want to be sued by Wizards of the Coast. That's
Well, the other issue
that's
is
what it
too
is.
is because the other issue is, and my brother had experience with this. My brother and I, we used to play this Japanese-inspired game called Legend of the Five Rings,
Yep.
and when Fantasy Flight Games bought it, they boiled it all down to these special, like symbol marked dice that were like $11 a set. You got to pay $11 to get a set of these special ass dice just to play the new version of the game.
They did that to Warhammer Fantasy.
Yep,
RPG,
they sure
dude. Their
did.
third
Yep.
edition was just full of that, and they had some really cool concepts, design concepts in there. But oh my gosh, it was so hard to like get used to it and get thinking about it, and then everybody has to have their own special dice that you
And
can't
then,
use
like,
for anything else. And
all
it's
the
like,
problems
like
they
20 bucks
caused
per
with
set.
Warhammer Fantasy,
Yeah.
they
Yep.
doubled down and expanded on for L5R. It was so
Wow.
bad. It died pretty much.
Damn.
I just want to
that
address
sucks.
this. The Dungeon Crawl Classics uses weird dice.
Yeah, he
they-
pointed that
they-
out. My brother did.
I mean, they're honestly not any weirder than Dungeons and Dragons dice were when they first came out.
Yeah,
They're
that's
very
true.
expensive. They're very
Yeah.
expensive, which is a pain. But I am pretty sure that was because they are so close to the early editions of Dungeons and Dragons that they had to add in a different dice mechanic, literally, in order to stop from being sued.
That
Is-
might be, honestly.
Is Dungeon Crawl Classics? That's the one where they have as the sort of the iconic D&D dice, but then they also add in like D5s and D14s or whatever, like
And a
D30s.
D30.
That one, yeah.
A D.
Okay.
Oh God,
Okay.
who uses a D30? Who uses a fucking D30? Oh,
Obviously, Dungeon Crawl Classics.
And
Yeah,
it's really popular. I've never played it, but I've heard tons of people talk about it. So I mean,
Wow.
it's definitely got a devoted fan base out there.
Apparently, yeah. I mean,
Well, this-
what do I know? I play RPGs from Palladium Books, and a lot of people don't know who the hell they are.
I was gonna say you have to buy
Yeah.
those on eBay used these days.
I still get
eBay.
them from Palladium directly, but that's how I've always done it.
Yeah, I always forget about their fantasy setting. I mean, everybody talks
Oh,
about
it's so
Rivs.
good. I love that game. Palladium Fantasy's awesome.
I know some of the cover art they had was just beautiful back
Mm-hmm.
in the 80s when you had that more sort of realistic style.
They've
oil.
still got really good artists in Palladium.
That's awesome.
Um,
I'm really liking
Rifts-
the format that of the formatting on this Final
Yeah,
Fantasy game
I'm
that
watching. I'm
Tommy's
looking
showing.
at that
It
on
seems
the
like it's
screen there.
really-
Yeah.
really clear and easy to kind of take your eye through and understand.
Oh
like,
God,
where the
Phoenix,
rules
no,
are.
not the 100, please.
The D100.
the thing you can lob at someone when you're really angry. with them. that and metal dice.
The times I've been a DM and I've wanted to throw the GM's guide at people.
Rifts and Shadowrun Second Edition were my first introductions to the idea that role playing could be something other than fantasy.
Rifts
Oh,
is
nice.
glorious. It's absurd, but it's fucking amazing.
I was trying to explain to somebody a couple of weeks ago what a glitter boy was, and they had no
Oh, I'm so
context.
sorry.
They
I'm
had
so
no
sorry.
context at all for riffs or any of that. And for some reason, I thought that was the one to launch into. And about
Oh,
halfway through the
man.
explanation, as they're looking at me like I'm crazy, I realize, okay, glitter boy sounds really weird to talk about if you're not explaining
Yeah,
where that
if
comes from in the
it,
background.
it's like if you're into riffs, the words
Right.
glitter boy make you either go, oh, fucking awesome, or oh, god, fuck that. If you actually know what riffs is. Otherwise, you're sitting
Right.
there scratching your head like, what the hell does that mean?
So have you had a chance to run this box set much, Tomby, or
No, not at all. And this is obviously the opportunity that obviously this gives
Mm-hmm.
as a place to start. And I know some of the guys that obviously I play Final Fantasy 14 are heavily interested in seeing how it would go and how we could possibly do this over a stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at using EV Mux and doing it on a podcast related to kind of like run through and just going through and just seeing how it would work. Obviously, I would need to share some of the pages with the guys via the
was gonna-
interwebs.
I was gonna say, unless everybody had their own copy, you'd have to find a way to communicate what the rules
Yeah.
are.
That is entirely true. It's an issue we had with riffs, actually.
I'm actually tempted just to build a small web application and load it all into the web application, and then everyone can then obviously select their roles that way. And it
I'm a
becomes
little
bit more
jealous because you have the benefit of
interactive.
knowing how to do that.
I'm a massive nerd when it comes to computers and software. I'm a massive nerd. But
See,
playing
I'm
catch-up
more
on
a
tabletop.
I'm more a writer, so I'm really bad at a lot of the internet, the internet and the programming and basic language shit. I'm not very good at it. So I've always had that issue when it comes to online gaming. You know what I mean?
Dark Hour is saying use Tabletop Simulator on Steam. I'll have a look.
Well, hey Tomby, I was Googling some more about this as we're talking about it, and I'm seeing here on the Square Enix webpage they
No,
actually have a
Phoenix.
section where it says they took excerpts from the starter set player book and the game master book, and they put them up as free PDFs for download.
Oh, even better.
So
I
they
see
don't
what you
have-
did there, Mail.
It doesn't have all the like the graphics and the nice illustrations and stuff. It looks like it's a stripped down version. But hey, if they have those resources there, that would be great for just throwing it at players.
You know,
and
the
make it
sad
way
thing is,
easier.
the amount of people based on what Mail said, the amount of people I actually saw using Crown Royal bags as dice bags.
Oh, yeah.
That's sadly accurate.
Yeah, it's a dice bag
Yep.
that comes with a free bottle of whiskey.
Yep.
Okay, I have to throw a question out here.
Mm.
How many dice is too many dice?
I don't have an answer for that. We have dice all over the damn house.
For
Boy.
those who do role playing, they understand the addiction to dice.
Like, I literally got a specific set of dice for me that, like, the D6s on the 6 all have a wolf head on them. Because my nickname since the military has been Werewolf, so I had to get these special ass dice.
That's awesome. I think too many is probably when they start spilling out onto the floor of your gaming room and you can't walk in there without stepping on the D4 caltrops that are
So
spread everywhere.
the Lego
That's
issue
When
then?
it becomes Lego.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he knew.
So,
He knew.
At that point, that might be too many dice.
My brother's take was none. You end up losing them or giving them away, so backups are required.
I
I'm-
literally have a set that are marked the dice of shame for every time I have a player who forgets their dice.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
that
actually-
actually follows.
I'm
So-
actually waiting for Daily Dysfunction to get into her resin casting a hell of a lot more. Because one of the things that she wants to do is make resin casted dice for games. And she's got some incredible ideas. So I'm just waiting for that. And
Okay,
then I'm
so
gonna
yarn.
commission.
needs
Yarn
to,
with,
uh,
oh my god.
Somebody needs to get on teaching Eraserhead how to game properly.
Yes.
My brother says he's lost pounds of dice to players walking off with them over the years. I know that to actually be true.
I love the dice of shame idea, but the problem is the person most likely to forget their dice in our group
Is likely to
a
walk
guy.
off with them too.
It's the game master, the guy who usually runs
game
the
master.
games. And at
I
his
never-
house, I don't even know where they go, but he loses dice like it's nobody's business.
Am I a rarity in that? I never lost my dice.
I mean, I have so many dice everywhere that it would be impossible for me to lose them all.
Like, I have never lost that set of wolf dice. I always know they're in a bag, literally, like, over there on that shelf.
Tomby, your Final
Yeah.
Fantasy game. What's it run in real money, and where do you normally,
Good point,
pick it
yeah.
$80. I
Okay.
purchased mine via Amazon, but you can actually purchase it directly from Square Enix.
Okay.
There is also expansion sets to be had. I haven't looked at the price of those yet.
Okay.
What is it in fake money?
Fake money.
Fake money, as in freedom dollars.
Wow.
It's probably the same. It's because what I notice is if it's 80 quid for me in the UK, it's $80, but it's obviously it's cheaper for you guys. That works out to probably around about 60 odd quid.
He now
These-
uses dollars, quid, and everything else just interchangeably.
I'm gonna show you. I'm just gonna share this. So this was the idea with Daily. So Daily was
Okay.
looking at making these resin dice,
Oh,
and they move on
okay.
the inside.
Gorgeous.
Oh,
So
interesting.
It's resin cast on the outside with a unset resin on the inside, which obviously moves around like essentially an aurora.
Interesting.
Oh, mate, they're beautiful.
Wow.
Absolutely beautiful.
My brother mentioned he heard that there's an official Final Fantasy tabletop RPG being developed, and I don't know when the release date for that is looking like, but what's a quid?
Quid is real money. Real money. It's not freedom bucks or anything like that. It's real money.
What about euros?
No, that's some make-believe Monopoly crap. Something I don't have to worry about anymore since Brexit.
This is
This
a
is
good
true.
question. This is a good question. What is
Oh,
the game
boy.
we can? What is the game we
Oh.
can think of that requires the most dice?
Okay, my immediate question on it is that,
Yahtzee.
are we accounting for... That's cheating. That's cheating.
It's not a bad answer.
Well, I'm sorry. What was it?
Yahtzee, he
Yahtzee.
said.
No, that's only 5. I definitely know games that take more than 5 dice.
Well, it depends on how many of the players demand having their own dice, too. Which is a similar issue in other game settings.
Wait a minute. Who allows other people to touch their dice?
That's a good question.
All players have to have their own dice.
We did have in our group, we had one dude in our group who was, let's say, slightly impaired with some of his habits, so he usually had to borrow somebody else's dice because he didn't have any money. Dude would come to the table toked out of his mind, and usually had to borrow his wife's dice for the short amount of time he was playing the game at all.
I would say the general consensus seems to be that Shadowrun may take the.
Oh God! Somebody mentioned Fatal. No, did you actually play that? Oh
The
God!
chat's been cursed now.
Ooh, nope.
There's a game I've never played it. It's called Myth Ender. It's somebody's
Dice
indie
capades.
heartbreaker project from like 10 years ago that was floating around online. But the idea is that it's supposed to be like sort of epic power level. The party plays like these heroic heroes that are trying to kill a god. And so the whole thing is about building up to killing a god and then fighting a god. And it only uses D6s. And it's described as using like hundreds of D6s total. Like every player has to have like 50 or 60 or something D6s because of the
Holy
way it
crap.
works. I've never gotten
yeah.
enough dice
Ooh.
together to actually try it, so I don't know how it works
Somebody-
or if it plays well. But someday I'm going to spring that on my group and be like,
to be fair,
dump them on the
Eraserhead.
table.
To be fair to the comment Eraserhead made, Yeah. That particular player was a little screwed up because weed notwithstanding, this is the dude who went behind the party's back and made a deal with the obviously evil dragon in my game and thought he was going to get away with it clear. It
Hey,
didn't work out very well.
Farv, can you bring your volume down just a touch?
Let me double check. Let me see if I can look at the
Yanni
settings
says,
here.
Tommy, I love the hat. Well, I'll just stand up so you can love the t-shirt as well.
Oh, I love those dragon
Oh
dice.
yeah, and it's on the back as well.
I can't figure out how to modify my audio, so I'll just try to lower my voice.
Nice. Yarnwich reminded me too that there was a Marvel heroic superhero RPG game that used a lot of. It was all about dice pools and used a lot of dice and D8s, lots and lots of D8s.
We're aware of that one, but we never actually got to play it. My brother mentioned Rollmaster, which I don't even. Ooh,
do you know
too many charts?
I mean, I'm ex-armed forces, like Favre, and it corrupts you in so many ways. Now I've just googled Fatal. Oh my.
Yeah, it's not good. It is not good.
Somebody was talking on my Facebook the other day about if you're the GM and you have to roll for armies. And I was like, who rolls for every single individual player in an army? You divide those suckers up into groups and roll for the group.
You have to. It takes too long otherwise.
So she was rolling 100 dice as a game master, if not more.
That's also functionally retarded.
That might be one of those things you do early on as a game master when you think it's a good idea, and then you try it and you're like, no, I'm never doing this again.
No, I'm never doing this again. Exactly.
No.
All right, alleged husband, aka the man witch.
Yes.
What have you got for us?
Okay. Yeah, I think so. The system that I wanted to talk about is one that it kind of got me back into gaming, which was Savage Worlds.
Ooh, nice.
I'm aware of that one. Yeah.
I've had a blast with it. Years ago I had kind of stopped gaming. I got burnt out on 3rd edition of the game that shall not be named. And all my buddies were playing with, that was all they could talk about. I'm like, I gotta take a break from this for a while. So I thought I was gonna be out of the hobby completely, and then I stumbled across there was a little tabletop game they were doing at a time. It was a miniatures game where you'd buy these packs of cards and then punch out the cards to build these little cardstock pirate ships. It was called Pirates of the Spanish Main. And some of my buddies got into that. They got free packs at a convention, so we would just hang out and drink and play this little game. And then
my
Pinnacle
husband had books and books and books of those cards for a while when we got married.
No.
He'd never played the game. He just had hundreds of the cards.
He just collected them. The art in that game was great. That was part of it. It was a lot of fun.
Was it made by Pinnacle?
So Savage Worlds is made by Pinnacle. The pirate card game, I want to say, was WizKids. It was an early on WizKids game, but then Pinnacle got the license to do an RPG for it. So they did a Pirates of the Spanish Main tabletop RPG of that game, and I picked it up at a store, thought it was cool, went to my old gaming buddies and say, hey, we should try this, guys. Give D&D a break, let's try something else. And they loved it, and it was a blast. And so Savage Worlds got me back into gaming. We played that pirate campaign for a while. I finally got them to do something different, and they really enjoyed it too. And so then we branched off into some of their other games. We played some Deadlands. I actually introduced my wife to gaming with a short pirate Spanish Savage Worlds Pirates of the Spanish Main scenario, because she had a little bit of experience with D&D, but it also was not. I think she played 1 or 2 sessions and she's like, nope, this is not for me. And then
it's interesting because that game we discussed earlier, Rifts, they've recently done a Savage Worlds conversion.
Yeah, and I've heard really good things about it. I've picked up some of the books, but it's even with Savage Worlds, which is a much more, their tagline is what, fast, furious, and fun.
I think so, yeah.
It's more of a, not really rules light, but rules medium compared to a lot of RPGs. but their riffs conversion is still crunchy as heck. It looks awesome from what I've seen, but it's crunchy as heck. But they have tons of different settings out there. They've done a Pathfinder conversion recently, which we played around with a little bit, and ultimately decided that it's a good conversion, but D&D Savage Worlds is not really what we were looking for. We like Savage
Yeah.
Worlds does a really good job of getting that sort of pulp action vibe. So feeling like Uncharted or Indiana Jones or Die Hard, that kind of feel in gaming, it does really well. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I've had a
Any
lot of. Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. No, I'm sorry. You
Oh,
go
no
ahead
worries.
first.
I was going to say I've had a lot of success. Actually, it's one of the few RPGs that I've had a lot of success introducing other gamers to, and even like new people who are just getting into gaming who have only heard about Dungeons and Dragons and don't even know other games exist.
Mm.
And some of my friends now have started getting other people into it too. And yeah, it's just been, it's very flexible. It's kind of a universal system. It's really easy for me to convert all my different random ideas into, like I've run one
Mhm.
shots with, I did a Hellboy Batman Victorian era
Wow.
crossover game,
Nice.
and it was awesome. It went really well, and I didn't even have to use. They have a lot of source books for the game too. So they have one that does superheroes. They have one for horror games. They have one for
Hmm.
fantasy, science fiction, and I didn't even have to use any of their superhero stuff. I was able to take it right out of the core book, make some pre-gens, and we had a really good time fighting vampires in Victorian Gotham. So
It's
yeah,
amazing.
it was. Yeah, it's been,
So
so that one has been a lot of fun. So I've really, that's one of the big sort of alternatives that I would recommend to people if they want to try out other RPGs. Give that one a
so
shot. Yeah.
Savage Worlds is a little bit. It's more like a system than it is the actual world. So like GURPS, kind of.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit.
Actually, that's a great comparison too. Very much that kind of universal system where they give you the core book is really a toolkit where they
Yeah.
explain the basic rules. They give you tools for making different races or species or whatever, like that you might want to have in your setting. They give you some examples, but they give you a lot of the tool, and they have an example bestiary and all this in the back, but they really give you the tools to build kind of your own setting, your own your own setting
Hmm.
for whatever genre you might want to game in.
So
And
my
yeah.
friends won't allow me to play GURPS anymore.
Oh
So
Oh,
no.
wow.
I apparently excel at breaking it.
Oh,
Uh,
you're one of
Oh,
those
cool.
gamers. Yep, yep.
so I don't know. Maybe I'll have to look into this so that I can play one of those more, wide open systems.
Hmm.
Yeah, you could probably. I mean, you could break this too. One of the guys in our group is a power gamer. He's nice about it, but he really is good at looking at rules and figuring out what the most optimal combination is, and then just um, wrecking things with that. And even with him doing that kind of stuff with this game, which you can do, there's enough. Um, just the way the dice system works and some of the other mechanics, like the meta currency that comes into the game, they call it
Hmm.
bennies. It allows for the game master to kind of adjust for that, and
Yeah, to compensate
so
for it.
yeah, and so you don't really get, even power gamers, at least in my experience, maybe I've been lucky, but they don't dominate the game. They can play effectively, but they don't ruin the fun for everybody
Yeah,
else,
play
like
with a
happens in some
handicap.
other
You
systems.
have
So
been blessed with the right kind of power gamers. I'll just tell you.
I will say that, yeah, definitely the guys who are jerks about it don't typically hang around too long, and the ones,
Hmm.
so this one buddy of ours, he's been with us for, he's been gaming with us for a couple of decades now, and yeah, I mean, everybody has their off days,
Okay,
but he's pretty chill, so it's
I
it's
I
great, it's a lot of fun.
Hmm?
I want to be very clear. I am not a power gamer. I just find really interesting. Like I like to find the combinations of skills that no one else ever thinks to put together.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like I instead of
Hmm.
going for the combinations that are like easy and will like kind of min max you, I like taking lots of different sorts of things and just trying them out in these weird. I cook the same way.
Oh, wow.
So what's kind of what was one of the craziest characters you put together in GURPS then, doing that kind of?
Um So I had a game master. The first time I ever played, I had a game master who really wanted me to try it, and I was kind of like,
Uh-huh.
I'm already in like 3 different games. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I want to do another one. And so he hands me the book, and he's like, I will let you play anything. And I was like,
Oh God.
you sure you
Ooh.
want to go there?
No.
Oof.
So I was flipping through, and I come to the description of wizards, and then I read
Uh-oh.
it through, and then I tapped on the
Mhm.
book, and I said, I want to play this. And he says, you hate magic, you never play wizards. And I said, no, 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 I don't want to play the wizard. So there's this thing in GURPS where you can call a familiar, but
Mhm.
if you roll badly, you get a demon instead,
Nice.
but it's trapped in a familiar's body.
Oh
I
no.
was like, I want to be
Oh.
I want to be the failed familiar role.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
I was a demon trapped in the body of an owl, and all I could do to cause chaos was that Yarny? I
Was
heard
that
her.
Yanni
Yes.
laughing?
Yep. 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 She's loving this story. She is loving this. Yeah.
So
Bless.
I she's a great laugh. I so I couldn't really do anything except talk to people. So I crammed every skill point I had into charisma. And by the time
Oh,
we were done,
nice.
there
Oh,
was like
mate.
one guy who built a tank, but he was really dumb.
Yep.
Oh
And
no. My brother made one of those.
so I started out by convincing him that there was like a plot against werewolves like by the humans, and he was a
Oh
werewolf.
no.
So
Oh
I set
gosh.
him against the nearby village. I then sent the werewolves protecting that village against.
Oh.
I convinced them that the forest werewolves were like attempting to like destroy the bird population. I convinced the birds that the
Oh
werewolves
my
and the
God.
humans were.
That's brilliant.
and and basically then I just sat back and everyone killed each other.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing. We have another
Oh
guy in our
man.
group who games kind of like that. He was the eternal DM for way too long. So he got burnt out on playing the same normal NPCs over and over and over again. So now anytime he has a
Mm.
chance to be a player, he always makes weird characters like that. But he's not nearly as focused and effective as it sounds like you
Yeah.
are with that kind of stuff. Oh man, that's awesome.
I
Hello to
we
Diviverse.
we had some winners. Like my brother mentioned, he had this barbarian he rolled who was literally based on, if anybody's familiar with some old black and white horror or sci-fi movies, he literally made a barbarian inspired by Tor Johnson. So he was this big, bald, goofy fucker as a barbarian, and he
Oh
was
God, I just
he
looked
was
him up.
he was the slowest, thickest, goofy bastard. And my character in that game was his cousin, who was a half elf gunslinger, and she hated him, and he constantly followed her around, pissing her off by doing pretty much nothing. It was the most ridiculous combination of characters ever.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the question
Yeah, those are the
is,
ones that
how
stick out.
well can I break Savage Worlds?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends on it. Like a lot of things. It probably depends on your GM and specifically the kind of world that they're running or what setting they're running with.
And
Savage Worlds has
if they're dumb
yeah.
enough to hand me the book and say you can play
You can
anything.
play anything you want. Yeah. Because I mean there are rules in there for creating your own player species. So if the game master is like, "Hey, you can literally make any kind of character you want." You have a lot of tools you can work with. But if they're putting sort of, caps in place, there might be a little more limited. There's still a lot of creative ways you can play around with things. You can reskin different options. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff you could do. I don't think, I mean, I have a lot of GURPS books on my shelf just as like
Mm-hmm.
resources for other games. There's not nearly as many source books as GURPS has because it's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have a library going for a few decades, but yeah, with all the different settings and stuff that they have too, and depending on what your game master's doing, yeah, you can definitely get up to some hijinks, I think.
To be fair, that same game master did the White Wolf Mage game,
Uh-oh.
which was another. I don't like Magic in any system, but I also agreed to play that
Really?
game. As
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Hmm.
there are stories. There are stories behind that.
I have
Um,
at some point off the shelf. They have so many dumb RPG stories. Oh god.
Dumb RPG stories. Yes, that's like a
yeah,
series right there.
I loathe I loathe Magic in pretty much any system. But he wanted me to play Mage, so I played Mage, and I did not enjoy it. But one of the Mage options was you had to take a Vice, and the GM was a very good Catholic boy.
Uh-oh.
And
No.
I am also responsible for him screaming in the middle of a a game session. But there are no rules for nymphomania.
Oh god.
Antagonizing your GM, time-honored tradition.
Tommy, I think your mic might be muted.
Oh
The
man.
bloody was as well. God damn it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was just saying it would be amazing to be a fly on the wall on some of these
Mhm.
scenarios as they play.
I wish some of you could have been there to see some of the dumb crap that I saw at my tables. Oh.
We used to keep a dry erase board, and like the best quote of the game went on the dry erase board, and it couldn't be removed
Oh,
until like
yeah.
there was a better
Someone's
one.
someone said
Oh,
something
that's
stupider.
I'm pretty sure there are no
that's
rules for
great.
nymphomania was up there for months.
That is great.
Like, for your benefit, Goat, my novels are actually, now very loosely, mind you, but they are based on a Palladium fantasy game that lasted for, I kid you not, 6 years,
Nice.
with characters kind of coming in and out of it, and I adapted it over time into the actual story that I wrote.
Um so the actual like need to play books for Savage Worlds, what do they tend to run, and where do you get them?
So yeah,
Amazon is also right up there with Wizards of the Coast. So
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Ouch.
you can order all the books off Pinnacle's website, Pinnacle Entertainment Group, their website. You can order the books off there. You can order PDFs from them directly. You can also go through Drive Through RPG for a lot of PDFs. The core book is kind of expensive in physical form. It's like $40. I think it's hardback, which they used to be cheaper. I don't like some of the prices that we're seeing from them now, but the physical books themselves are hardback. They're good quality. They've held up so far,
Yeah.
so I will
This
give them
sounds
that.
horrible to say, but
The-
in light of recent D&D and Warhammer books, $40 is not
That's
that
true.
bad comparatively.
That is true.
Comparatively, that's
That
actually
is true.
cheap enough
Mhm.
for me.
And
yeah, the new edition for Wizards of the Coast is going to cost people something like $180.
It's
And
ridiculous.
and there are already misprints in the books that they're not
Oh,
correcting,
God.
so you have to buy
Oh.
That's
the
ridiculous.
PDF in order to get the corrections.
You have to get the
Yeah.
corrections as well.
And that's a good point too, because you get the core book for Savage Worlds and you
Yep.
have it. That's it. That's all you need to play at a basic level. At all you need to be a GM. It's got all the rules in it. It's got example bestiary in the back. The PDF for it is $10, so that's very accessible.
Yeah.
I think. And I don't know if it's available yet, but they also have a new product, which is a player's guide. So the player's guide is $20 in physical. I think it's pre-ordering right now. I'm not sure if they have them in stock yet. The PDF for that is like $8, and it's the core book minus the GM stuff. So if you're going to be a player but you don't need to think about running games, you can get that, and it gives you, all the basic rules, all the character creation stuff, all the combat, all of that stuff, but cutting out the GM section that you don't need to worry about.
See, that's the thing that I like about Palladium books. They tend to have, if you get, like, for one of their settings, let's say Rifts or Palladium Fantasy, number one, Palladium books, if you don't want to order anything, you can go straight to Palladium books and direct order from their site.
Yeah.
So you can get any of the books from them as long as they're still in print.
Nice.
And to play Rifts or Palladium Fantasy or Dead Rain, all you need is the main book. The sub books are completely
awesome.
optional. You
That's
don't
awesome.
need any of the world books. They're just extra stuff.
Yeah,
Tomby, is there
the players book's available.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And then,
is
oh,
there a way
great.
to
Okay.
blow that up so that or
I can't
zoom
tell.
in
Oh,
on
there
it?
we go.
Awesome.
2 seconds, I can do some magic. Let's go open a new tab. Let's go there, and let's
Okay.
share this one instead.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, and their art quality, that when Savage Worlds has been around for about 20 years, and the
Mhm.
earlier books had pretty rough and inconsistent art, but it's really improved with the latest edition too. That's the Adventure Edition is the latest edition, and I gotta say I really like the direction their art quality is going in. And then one other thing that's great is if you're not sure about it, because there are some weird things about Savage Worlds. Some people don't like
Mhm.
meta currency. They use a deck of playing cards for initiative, and that's weird for some people. There are other rules that are based off that. They do some creative stuff. But if you want to if you're not sure, you don't want to spend any money, but you want to give it a try, on Test Drive RPG or on their website, you can find their test drive rules for free. It gives you the basic rules. It gives you a scenario and pre-gen characters for their Deadlands
Yep.
Weird West setting.
Mhm.
And so you can actually give it a try, read through it or take it even to the table for zero money down. And so that is I love free quick plays. I love it when companies do that. So yeah, no reason not to give it a shot or at least take a look. But
And see, with me, one of the reasons D&D never worked out for me is I have a really particular way I kind of like to do settings, at least for fantasy.
mhm,
Because with the group of players I played with for like almost 10 years, we tend to balance fantasy kind of between people still using swords and magic, and there
mhm.
being things like black powder and like
Oh
breech
yeah.
loading
Yeah.
firearms and like
Yeah.
and cannons and whatnot. Which there's actually a lot of that in my book in terms of like the way tech is
Yeah.
balanced in the setting. And D&D just didn't really in the original editions
Yeah.
they did, but as time went on they just pulled further and further away from actual creativity to
Yeah.
everything kind of being jammed in Forgotten Realms.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they've
And
taken a lot of those tools out for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Forgotten Realms didn't used to be the original. It used to be Greyhawk, and then
Yeah.
Forgotten Realms
As
got
my brother
popular.
pointed out, I caused him to write a huge amount of extra rules when we were playing.
Well, and then even
The
even
homebrew.
even Forgotten Realms has changed a lot from where it was when it first got published.
Yeah,
Like
well,
if you look at the initial.
they
Yeah.
stapled freaking Spelljammer and oh
Oh yeah.
god, Ravenloft onto like the ends of
Right.
Forgotten Realms somehow.
And they've been scavenging even Greyhawk stuff to
Mm-hmm.
smash it to the realms too. So it's getting pretty yeah, pretty frustrating to have to deal with. But
Like
I used to love
Spelljammer used to be one
Ravenloft.
of my favorite things
yeah.
ever. Spelljammer, and they're like, oh yeah, it's just like it's over here in the corner
Mhm.
of Forgotten Realms somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ravenloft used to be the best way to kill. I mean, play with gamers that did a challenge.
Well, and it's so that's one that's really disappointing too because I haven't played much in Ravenloft, but I got a lot of the
Mm.
books from second edition, and they were so evocative, and the art was so cool, and there were so many like cool
Yeah, fifth
actually
edition has
gothic ideas
Strahd.
in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like
All right,
it's the Twilight version now.
We're doing it again.
Are we? We are.
Yeah.
We are. We're doing
One
D and
last
D again.
Yeah, bring it back.
God damn it.
One thing that's really fun about Savage Worlds too is there's a lot of optional different rules you can bring into it. And like one of the and peripherals and stuff. So one of the optional things they have that you don't need to play the game, but it's fun to add in is something called the adventure deck, where
Right.
you deal these cards out at the beginning of a session. There, I forget the rules offhand, but certain number of cards depending on how powerful the characters are, and they're narrative cards that can be played during the game. So somebody might
Ah. Yeah.
play a
Hmm.
mechanical malfunction card where at the worst possible time somebody's gun jams,
Someone's
or
gun jams. Yeah.
here comes the cavalry, help arrives on the scene, in some way, shape, or form, and it gives the GM a lot of flexibility in how they interpret the card, but it's a way for the players to kind of weigh in and influence the narrative. And one
Hmm.
of my favorite examples of this was in that Deadlands campaign we were playing. Yarny kept drawing the enemy card, and I forget what bonus it gave you. It gave you some bonus in the moment, but at the cost of having this eternal enemy who was going to be coming after you and trying to sabotage you and pursuing you in vengeance. And I had to figure out how to work that into the game. And she
Oh.
kept playing that card over and over across multiple sessions. So there was like 7 or 8 different factions that were all going after her character in some way, shape, or form.
She's
There was a
laughing in the
ninja
background.
clan that was going
She's
after her.
giggling again.
There was a demon Oni who was coming after her. There was an outlaw werewolf gunslinger that was.
We
it
had.
was, oh man! So it can be a little bit.
Yeah.
It can be a little bit challenging for GMs that really like to maintain tight control on their games, but it can also add a lot of chaos and a lot of fun and a lot of creativity.
Sometimes permitting player choice can be the greatest thing ever and still bite you in the ass. We had a player who, there was this monster hunter character, right? She was an NPC, and this guy, he was a great player because he would do the most absurd things just to get a story going. He decides he'd been bitten by a werewolf recently and cursed. Oh, no. He decided the greatest idea ever would be to follow this female monster hunter around and try to flirt with her. So she was playing up to him the whole time because she was waiting for him to change so she had an excuse to kill him. And he was just going along with it the whole time.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's
players.
You can get some interesting. My general strategy is I do not kill players, no matter how crazy they get. I will, however, never stop them from killing themselves.
Yes.
And the thing about players that like to go overboard is that they will always do something.
That one player we mentioned earlier, the one who tried to make the deal with the obviously evil dragon behind everybody's back.
Yep.
He got so bad that he actually got cursed and banished to another dimension by the deity of the realm.
Oof.
And he came back.
You seriously fucked up when that happens, don't you?
Divine slapdown.
Once the player had left the game, he actually got brought back as an NPC later, who ended up getting enslaved to another player as a minion. It was freaking ridiculous.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
Always give them enough rope to hang themselves. Anything else about Savage Worlds that we should know or that players might like to know?
Yeah, I do think there are some rules that are a little idiosyncratic about the game. It has wild dice in there, which so wild cards, players are wild cards, important villains are wild cards. Wild cards always roll an additional die and take the best of the two. There are a lot of rules that the game does to make your characters a little more potent and powerful, even starting level characters compared to some other games, but they are kind of idiosyncratic compared to other RPGs that people might be familiar with. So it's good to kind of, read through it, give it a try. A lot of people I see in forums will want to read through it and they'll start tinkering with things ahead of time. They're like, I don't like this rule, I'm going to run it different. And one of the common pieces of advice from Savage Worlds players is try it at the table first. Play it by the book, try it at the table first, and then see how it actually works. And then you can go back and house rule it. And it is pretty flexible for house ruling if you want. It does use the standard kind of gamer dice. So you have D4s, D6s, D8s, D10s, D12s. It doesn't use D20s, maybe some charts and some settings, but it uses the smaller dice. But you do need a pack of quote unquote D&D dice if you're going the standard polyhedrals, right? If you're going to play it. And you need a deck of playing cards because that's how initiative works. And they do other things too, like the chase rules in there need playing cards. There's some other stuff. So it's a little odd, but it's pretty quick and easy to play. I know my wife picked it up really quickly. She says it's one of her favorite games. She doesn't have a ton of gaming experience, but she really likes it. It was really intuitive for her. We've had a lot of success introducing new players to it. So I think it's worth a shot if you're looking for an alternative to what you might be familiar with. So yeah, and again, the PDFs are pretty affordable. The test drive is free. So
would you stop, cat? Stop. Girl, what are you doing? Stop. Can I climb on this chair? My cat.
I have one of those.
I think
I
we
got-
all do, don't we?
I
Frankly,
have
mine is sleeping at the moment. So.
I have too many. Will you please behave?
Yeah.
Um,
Remind me, alleged. Remind me when I
Yes.
get to mine about the playing through before you start messing with things.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
I wanted to make sure to mention that in mine as well.
don't you give
Will
me that
do.
look. I'm watching you. Now she's on the
Um,
camera.
Of course. Um. All right. Anything else, or shall we move on to Farv?
No, I think that covers it. Yeah.
Because Farv may have the strangest one of the bunch.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this one
Before-
originally I was going to actually talk about Palladium Fantasy, but then she and I got to talking, and this came up. She's like, I never even knew that had a game. So before we started, we were talking about John Carpenter's adaptation of The Thing from Another World,
Uh-huh.
which was just called The Thing in 1983. Well, 1982 was the first release. I found a while back, because my brother and I are huge fans of that film, they had made a game called The Thing Infection at Outpost 31. It is a multiplayer board game, which I'll just use these as an example. So the characters are set up by different departments of the outpost. So we have, we'll use Blair here as if you want to blow up the screen here. We'll use Blair here as an example of the science department. Everybody who saw the movie probably remembers who he is. It was Wilford Brimley's character. And then for maintenance, we have McCready.
McCready.
And then we got Gary here from Ops. Now, the thing is, when you form a party in this, and I'll get to why that's important in a minute, you have to have one of each department in a party. So this requires about probably 2 to 4 players, depending on how you want to run it. But it's ideal with about 3 to 4. So what you do is you shuffle whatever characters you want, but it has to be balanced, so you have to have one person from every department. And what happens is, in the beginning of the game, you have what they call the blood sample cards. And what you do is you shuffle these cards and you hand them out face down. And one card in those blood sample cards will be the infected blood card. And nobody's allowed to show anybody else their card. So the one person that has the infected blood card is the Thing. Everybody else, their purpose is to maintain the shit in Outpost 31 and find the Thing and kill it before it infects everybody else. The issue here is nobody knows who that is, and so it's up to the players using the event and item cards throughout Outpost 31 to do everything they can to sabotage the outpost and infect the other players without them noticing, while the other players are trying to figure out who is actually infected and figure out how to kill them before they kill everyone else and infect them. It runs on a pool of standard D6 dice, depending, for resolution. We have a number of miniatures. We got McCready here. Unfortunately, with my camera, they're not super detailed, but these are pretty decent miniatures. But
So
Go
somebody
ahead.
asked if it was like Clue, but it sounds like it's like Clue except infectious.
I know somebody mentioned Among Us, which always both amuses me and irritates me, because Among Us literally stole its entire concept from The Thing. But it's kind of like that.
Yep.
Because, just for example, I've got the miniature for Gary here, and like I said, the detail doesn't show up well on my webcam, but they're pretty decent miniatures. And we've got McCready here with the flamethrower. There's a miniature for every member of Outpost 31. There are multiple miniatures for mutations of the Thing. So from, the Norris head crab thing to the big Blair sled dog mutation from the end of the movie, there's a few of them in here. And literally, you have to get through the entire game. The one variation on this is you can actually escape if you do it right. Everybody doesn't die in the board game version. But we have, I showed you Gary and McCready and Blair. We've got literally everybody who was in the game. We've got Windows. There we go. We've got freaking Knowles. Everybody who was in there is in here. And they have different stats and specializations to be used. There's items you can find, the rope, flamethrowers, the stuff for the blood samples, and there's multiple objectives per like the little missions spread throughout the game until the point that either the thing wins by infecting everybody else, or somebody finds the thing, kills it, and the people who aren't infected get to the helicopter, which in this version Blair did not dismantle to make into a UFO, and actually escape.
This sounds
So,
awesome. I want to play it straight away
is it a
It's really
because
cool.
I
is
love
it
the thing.
is it a cooperative game?
It is technically cooperative unless you're the one who got marked
Unless
with the
you're
blood
the
sample in the
thing.
beginning.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then
Right.
it's basically 1 versus 4 to 5, depending on how many players you have. And of
So
course, you have to be subtle about the actions you take, because if you get caught out, then the other players have a chance to find you and kill you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's I'm trying to remember. There's a Cthulhu board game that's similar. One person is the bad guy, and you have to figure out. And they don't. I don't think they even know who they are, at least at the start.
Yeah, that sounds fun. With this one, you know who you are, but you're not allowed. That's the thing. So when you give out the blood sample cards, they're always face down because nobody's supposed to know who's who.
Hmm. Yeah, that would make sense. It would be hard to play otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And it runs off item cards, dice, and then they've got a thing here. Let me pull this out of here, where it actually shows you the how the progression is going in the outpost itself. So you have levels of infection, how many rooms have been cleared of evidence or infection. There's also demarcated areas where you deploy things like the flamethrowers or the dynamite that can be used by the players or sabotaged by the thing or hidden where they can't reach them.
So can you still get this game? Is it a? Do you have to like hunt
You
for it in
can
hidden
still get
corners?
this game. The one issue you might have, like when you're looking at the version that I have that has all these really cool plastic miniatures, the most basic version of this game came with either really basic wood or cardboard miniatures, unfortunately. That was the common one that got released. The special edition, which I have, was more rare, so it's a little harder to find. But
Mhm.
the game mechanically works the same way. There's nothing actually been omitted other than the plastic minis.
But finding like a new copy.
Finding a new copy should not be difficult. You would end up paying more for the one with the full kit of plastic minis for the thing and the Outpost 31 survivors, because it
I
was a more rare edition.
I'm fascinated by the fact that I've never heard of this. If it's, I thought maybe it was like an older game nobody could find anymore, and that's why
No,
I'd never heard of
it
it.
came out. I think there's a manufacturer thing here. Let me look on this book. They even made the book look like an orientation booklet. It's very thematic, this
Nice.
game. Let
Okay,
me
I would
see.
like to announce that Yarn Witch has made at least one person on this panel, follow all of the rules.
I'm sorry, I can't eat pizza.
You
She's
just,
probably got pineapple pizza.
Oh no.
somebody actually asked that.
I'm looking in here and actually trying to find the manufacturer's date, because I remember when this was on Kickstarter, but I don't remember the date. Yeah, unfortunately, it's just not in here. I'd have to actually look that up. But it can still be got. You just have to dig around a little bit. Because it did get a mass market release. It's just the cheaper version of it without the plastic minis. I think the
Mhm.
plastic minis came with the Kickstarter edition.
Well, I think there were several of us saying that we wanted the game for the minis, so I guess that would work.
You can still get it. It just takes a little bit more looking.
Thank you very much, Adam.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, it's like I said, I had no idea this existed, and considering the fandom that surrounds that movie, I'm kind of stunned. Um, I was trying to go through chat while you were talking. Do we have visuals of what the game looks like other than the cards, like
Yeah,
the little
hang on
box?
just a second. Let me dig around here. Well, for one example, if I can unfold this buggerly thing enough to. So there's the icon on the board itself on the corner there.
Mm-hmm.
And the board it's one solid unfoldable board like standard board game, so it's not doing like Zombie Side where you have different pieces of boards to put together because of different terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Because in honesty, Outpost 31 was one static location, so they were able to basically do that. So it's just a map of Outpost 31 you're playing on. Let me fold that up and get some of the other implements here. So we have the field manual, which has the rules and visuals in it for different objects and items. There are map schematics in here, depending on what part of the campaign you're doing. Which here you go.
Hang on a second. I have to remember how to blow you up again.
Yeah.
There we go.
So as you can see, there's different. It has the rules in here there's visuals for almost everything in this rule book, which is helpful.
Very.
And then it completely lays out the rules, the different cards, what the differences and objectives for the humans and the thing, how the captain of the team is designated, which is with this little revolver right here, as per the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then apart from the book, we have, as I showed, we have the infection level cards and the infestation area marker cards.
Mm-hmm. Do you have the box?
Yes, I do. Let me move the interior of the box so I can show you the external of the box without dumping pieces everywhere.
I've just found it online as well.
Oh, did you find it? Nice.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
visual. I need to know what color to look for.
Okay. I'm
gonna drop the link into
there you go.
private chat.
Like this. There you go.
That is right on brand. Nice.
And for anybody curious, I haven't got these out of the bag because while I've been studying the rules, it's been so busy here we haven't had a chance to play it officially yet. But these are some of the minis for the thing mutations. You can see they've got an entire bag of minis unto themselves.
Oh, dude.
And the minis are color coded based on the character's department. So maintenance minis are always yellow. The ops minis are always blue, and the science minis are always green.
Oh, Board Game Geek. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Yep. Yeah, so all the information's there, and I've also dropped it into the private chat on EVMux for everybody.
Oh, nice.
And there's also the official link as well. Beautiful.
And this is considered we have. So I think, Goat, when you and I were talking, I had a few board games you hadn't heard of either, like that Masters of the Universe one that we have.
Yeah, I have a whole lot of weird games, but I also miss out on a lot of games because I have mostly weird games.
And that's fine. I mean, a lot of people didn't know the Masters of the Universe game existed either, so
Never even knew about that one.
it's a tactical war game. Surprisingly enough, it's literally Skeletor and the Horde versus the freaking Defenders of Eternia.
That's
Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing, I want to play it.
Oh my gosh.
E-Man for the win.
Oh, it's a C. Is it a CMON game? It looks like.
Yeah,
Okay. God, they have so many different
we
things. And, like,
we have been
amazing
playing
minis
Zombie
and-
Side for so many years at this point.
Yeah.
We have the Old West version, the medieval version.
Nice. That's
So,
one of those. That's one of those board game like universes that I want to get into, but I never have the time or the money to like dedicate.
I
to going
understand.
down
We
that
got
path.
we got ours piecemeal over time. There was no way we were getting all those at once.
Yeah.
You're drinking whiskey, alleged.
So
Man,
I
mate.
am.
Right. I'm going to drink some too.
Oh,
What was that? Go.
nice.
I'm still drinking tequila.
I got Lagavulin.
I'm still
16 years.
I'm still
lovely.
recovering from yesterday's.
Thankfully, I bounced back pretty quick. I don't have to worry about it,
Well,
which is
I
good
very
for
ra-
me at least.
I very rarely drink, but so
Really?
my uncle,
Okay.
my uncle Pat, well, yeah, because I did all of my drinking in like the first 5 years of my legally drinking. I drank enough for life.
I thought you were going to say the first 5 years of your life then. I was like, that's a bit weird.
To be perfectly honest, I started drinking at about 14.
Yeah.
So my uncle passed away last year, and
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
they gave me the bottle of Crown Royal that was in his they found it in his apartment. And
Oh,
everyone was weirded out about this because as far as they knew he never drank.
Yeah.
And I discovered when I was preparing for my dinner party that the bottle was stamped as 1974,
oh,
Crazy.
which
ooh,
which made yesterday the last day it was going to be 50 years old.
Yeah.
It was
wow.
two, 2024 was also the 10-year at Christmas time was the 10-year anniversary of my father passing.
Ooh.
So our midnight toast, and
It's
I had a friend who lost his dad a couple weeks ago, and so our midnight toast was we cracked that bottle and toasted all the people that we have lost over the last
Yeah.
several
yeah.
years.
See, this year was something because this was officially the first year since we lost my mother. So
Well, here was the thing that was really interesting. So when it's bottled, it doesn't keep aging the same way,
yeah.
but there was a
Right.
definite difference between a bottle of 1974 Crown Royal and the stuff you get on the shelves now.
Yeah.
The
I honestly
difference
don't doubt that.
the difference was amazing. Um and so now I have a headache.
It
Oh
also
no, I'm
it'll
sorry.
also it'll also depend on how it's been stored.
Yeah,
If you
true.
store it in direct sunlight, it does change subtly. But if it's kept in a dark, cool place, it will taste as if it was heaven out of the barrel itself.
So keep it in the dice bag.
Yeah.
Keep it in the thing.
Well, I don't think he ever took it out of the box.
Oh,
Even
Wow.
better. Even better.
But
that's the
but
funny thing. My Patron actually came in a box initially too.
um yeah, I don't even know why he had it because he
Did he
didn't
not
drink.
drink? Mm.
I don't think anybody ever saw him have a
Huh.
drink.
Maybe
But
he was saving it for like a celebration or something.
it was probably very cool though because he used to regularly walk out into snowstorms with no shirt and no shoes on because he'd overheat in like regular temperatures. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a wonderful night. We had a lot of really good friends over, but I was not about to have another drink tonight because I have to I have to vaguely function tomorrow.
I have the. Oh yeah, I see that.
Nice.
Oh,
It's the
yeah.
same. It's the same color as mine.
Oh, it's glorious, this stuff. Absolutely
This is
glorious. And Yanni and Manwich know all about this one.
this is the bottle.
Absolutely.
This is actually the bottle for
Very
mine.
good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
beautiful.
I always make a point to say when I'm on a stream just because I know people are from all over the place. So the only beer I drink is made by a company called Dragon's Milk because they make an absolutely
yeah.
amazing stout. So they also make a bourbon,
Ooh.
except
Interesting.
I cannot find it anywhere in this state or in New England, and Maine does not allow for home delivery.
Oh,
So
hi, Kusri. Good to see you.
I am constantly putting feelers out for anyone who runs across a bottle of this.
I remember us having that discussion. I was like, no, I haven't seen any.
If anyone finds one in their local liquor store.
The
They
only
actually
beer that I drink is basically Guinness. I don't have much taste for beer. I prefer liquor.
so imagine Guinness except smooth and not hoppy.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very nice stuff. Um but yeah, so I'm really eager to try the bourbon. They actually did a special run in partnership with D&D because when Wizards of the Coast said that they were going to try and get more money out of their players, they were
Yep.
not kidding.
No, clearly not.
Wow.
They are slapping their label on
Well, it's a
everything.
lifestyle brand now, right? That's the
Oh,
marketing direction they've gone in.
Yeah, and I'm not I'm not from Ireland, so obviously I have never had a proper Irish.
Obviously, potato, since I can't get to Ireland safely right now.
So when you come over, you can bring the Guinness, and Tomby can bring the potato chips, and we'll be good to go.
I can bring the Guinness as well. I just go over and
He is
pop in.
He is coming to the U.S. the week before you are.
All right. Yeah. Nice.
I'll be making
If you'll permit me before we take off, considering
ahead.
I've talked about it multiple times, this is the book in question, actually. That all what I was talking about is actually ended up being based on. The second one's actually at copyright office right now. It's getting ready to get finished.
Okay, now I have to figure out. Here's my turn on the technical difficulties. I have to
Uh-oh.
remember how to share my screen so that I can do pictures
Mm.
for.
Any input, Tomby?
Share screen down the bottom.
Is it?
Oh yeah, I
let me
was
see.
looking in the wrong
Oh
section.
yeah, there it is. I see it. It's actually right underneath the portraits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kept looking at the section that said add camera, and I was like,
Yeah, no. Gray just comes in with the Marmite crisps.
all right.
There we go.
Nice.
Oh geez.
So, SLA Industries, there's an interesting story behind this game. So, the first edition of SLA Industries existed when the early editions of D&D came out, and when Wizards of the Coast first bought them, they or bought Dungeons and Dragons, they proceeded to go through this thing where they bought a whole bunch of other games that were competition and then put them out of
Yeah.
business.
Oh.
I
Uh,
remember that.
and the very first game that they ever considered to be a risk to their, I don't know, top of the mountaining, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
was Slay Industries. And so they bought it and they immediately put it out of the running.
Put it out past you.
They put it down is what they did.
Yep.
I had
I
no
ran across a
idea.
copy of it like a decade later, just by sheer coincidence. It was
Wow.
like somebody was cleaning out like the stuff in their back storage and they were just putting stuff on sale, and I was like, I just want a weird game to run. And it's amazing. So the basis for Slay Industry is that you are a character on a world called Mort. And Mort used to be a city, and then the city basically just took over the entire planet.
Oh,
The entire thing is industrial. And now keep in mind this was in the 80s, so it's going to sound really funny in modern day.
is this if like
90
Mega City 1 just took over the world?
Sort of. There is a serious issue with overpopulation, so what they've done is dig into the earth.
Oh great.
And the lower it's got a similar thing in that the lower down you are, it means the less money you have. You have like low income housing in the sewers that was basically never completed.
Oh
But
great.
90% of the civilians basically get a stipend. They have a tiny 1-bedroom apartment and they have television.
Oh great.
They get basic food supplies, enough to keep them alive, and they sit around and they take antidepressants and they watch television.
Oof.
Sound familiar?
It makes
so then
sense.
you have
I looked it up and I didn't realize Nightfall was a Glaswegian studio. So that kind of tracks.
So you are one of the 10% that is not happy with this lifestyle. You want, better housing, better food, flashier vehicles. So you go to work for the government. And your job is to do whatever jobs they have for you to clean up. That might be breaking up gang wars. That might be hunting carrion eaters, which are one of the more dangerous things. There are cannibals that live on the outskirts of the city. If
Question. Did you happen to remember when this came? What about this came out?
The
Early 80s.
first edition was in the early 80s. I
Because
don't remember the exact
has
year.
it has some kind of similar earmarks to some editions of Cyberpunk too.
It's different. It's been so long since I played Cyberpunk, I don't know that I could tell you specifically what those are.
That's fair enough.
But So the basis is that the government pays like crap.
As
Um,
usual.
but what happens is that they record everything you do. And that's what people are watching for television. There are no actors, it's just all reality TV.
Oh, God.
So if you get really well liked, you'll pick up sponsors. So, and so bullets are really expensive
Mm.
because shooting someone on camera doesn't look cool. On the other hand, the chainsaw axe looks
Yes.
awesome.
Mhm.
So the more awesome you look on television and the more followers you get, the more sponsors you get. And so you get sponsorship money and you get better gear, and then you can take on higher missions. You can do things like start tracking serial killers. Only the problem is that serial killers also look cool on camera.
Oh. Of
And
course.
so the guy on the front of this is Halloween Jack, who is the most popular serial killer in the city and has like umpteen million sponsors
Oh.
and apparently a never-ending supply of weaponry because of it. So the symbols, I don't know. Hang on a second, let me bring this back up again.
I'm assuming there's
So
a lot of them, those sponsors, I'm guessing.
yeah, all of these symbols are sponsors.
Oh,
The
nice.
first edition actually had a picture of him with it's not actually Coca-Cola, but you can tell that's what it's supposed to be. He
That's
has a
amazing.
Coca-Cola patch on his jacket. um, so
Oh,
um, it's a fascinating game because it becomes less about solving the mission than looking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like one of the things you can do when you get more supplies is you can get your own cameras and your own editing equipment. So you can literally edit things together in a way that will make you look better on television and then sell them to stations. Um, it's very interesting. So anyway, Wizards of the Coast messed up and they didn't renew the copyright.
Uh-oh.
So Nightfall Games bought their copyright back.
nice.
Nice.
And so
Oh,
now
that's
we
brilliant.
have I kickstarted the second edition of SLA Industries.
Oh.
Um, there are some changes to how the rules go. So basically, you have 5 dice. One of them is black. The rest of them are orange. The black die is your success die. You
Mm.
have to. That's the die that has to succeed on a roll. The orange die
Mm.
are how well you succeeded. So the more orange die that succeed, the better your success. Or if you fail, the more orange dice,
Okay.
the worse.
So
But
basically, if you roll success, the better you look, and if you screw up, it just makes it that much worse.
Yeah.
yeah, or you at least
Okay.
become comedic relief. Um, but if you get enough successes, um, even if your black die fails, it's considered you succeed through basic just life skill as
Mm.
opposed to natural skill. So you have to get like 4 out of the 5 dice that succeed, even so, to outweigh the black die.
Okay, yeah, that
Um,
makes sense.
so you always want to be really nice to your black die. Um, it let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to forward this stupid picture. There we go.
Hmm.
So these are some of the races that you can play. Um, this is
Ooh. Looks
this
like
is
a cross
basically
between a flesh golem and a bug.
it's a lab creation. They are like lab created assassins. They basically can blend into the background and the scenery.
Hmm.
Uh, and their climbing skill is really good. They're super fast. Um, and there are supposed to be very few of them in the world because they're basically an experiment.
Hmm. Okay.
This is the closest thing that the world has to magic. Um,
Oh.
these are called ebons. The ones with the mohawks are wasters. They're basically they're an nobody knows quite if they're a totally another like alien species that happens to look human or if they're like an offshoot of the human race. They're also supposed to be really rare, and I tend to only allow them as NPCs because they're really overpowered compared to all of the others.
I
It
honestly
was
understand that.
it was and this is not just because I'm not a big fan of Magic. They are really
Mhm.
like nobody
One
ever
thing
wants to
you'll
play anything
one thing
else
you'll
because
probably like about my book setting is magic is super rare.
um so they're ebbins or wasters depending on what kind of magic they can do.
Okay.
Basically, one can create and one can destroy basically. So
And is it like psychic kind of stuff, or is it straight up magic,
um it's
or kind of ambiguous?
Hmm.
I guess it would be somewhere between magic and like elemental type
Oh, okay.
stuff maybe.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Because in my setting, the magic is
Dude, that is
purely.
so cool.
That is a cool image. Yeah.
That
Oh
is
yeah.
So that is Halloween Jack.
I thought so. I saw his head
That's
there in the
amazing.
screen.
And that is the chainsaw axe. You, by the way, cannot wield a chainsaw axe unless you have stats that are high enough. Almost no humans can get those stats, so
That
this is one of
actually reminds me of Rifts, where there's a lot of specific weapons you can't use unless you have magical or cybernetic strength.
so yeah, it's one of the reasons he's so popular because
Hmm.
he's a human being that can wield a chainsaw axe quite easily. So the new edition has some new races, which I kind of like. That first one with the lab created thing is new. There were lab created warriors, but they're basically just brawlers.
Okay.
So the assassin one is new. They also, like I said, there used to be cannibals that were kind of a enemy outside. So there are now greater cannibals, which are
What's
basic.
the
Well,
difference?
they have the same mutations and the same nastiness about them,
Hmm.
but they have evolved slightly higher so they can actually think and not just running around eating things.
Oh, because they're just not like mindless freaks out in the wasteland. They can actually kind of think for themselves.
Right. So they some of them have been brought in as an attempt to like try and find for a new fighting force.
Oh,
But
jeez.
the issue is that the the lab creations are basically implanted so that they can't ever go against the company.
So they're what, genetically conditioned, or is just some kind of control implant?
Um their part of it is their creation, like their literal creation just doesn't allow for them to go against the company. But
Hmm.
then there's like a failsafe that basically just kills them if they
Okay, I got you.
like a
Yeah.
Suicide Squad kind of thing,
Yeah.
except I think it's more like a poisoning.
It was kind of like the
Um
thing from like Total Recall, where they just,
yeah.
RoboCop.
or not
Directed
Total
them
Recall.
before.
That was the Running Man. Excuse me.
Um so they're nervous about these new creation or the new cannibals
Mm-hmm.
because they are the only race that can go toe to toe with the lab created warriors, and they have no implants.
So it seems like they're kind of worried about an uprising to some extent, maybe.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of people that spent their entire lives fighting cannibals, and now they're fighting
Mm-hmm.
with cannibals. So yeah, it makes for an interesting game. It really encourages a whole lot of interaction between players.
Okay.
Sometimes players will sell out other players in order to look better on camera.
Boy,
No
Uh,
I've seen that in games where
Oh
that's not even an
man.
incentive.
Right.
That's
I
partly
had a
hidden.
I had a game once where I don't usually plan too far ahead on games, but I had this like mapped out. I had every detail, and it was going to be a murder mystery. They
Oh,
were
nice.
tracking down a serial killer who had accidentally taken out the daughter of someone important because she decided to go slumming. Like nobody cared about him as long as he stayed into the
Oh.
junky areas,
Uh-huh.
but he took out the wrong guy, so they send in these people to And because this guy is important, if they don't catch the killer, they're all going to lose their jobs.
Oh, great.
So the plan was I had all these clues, I had like NPCs, I had everything laid out. And then one of them said, you know how she runs games. We're never, ever going to do this. We'll be barely lucky if we survive. And I kind of went, hey. So he says, I've got an idea. No one actually cares whether we catch this guy or not. They just want the appearance we caught him. So let's find somebody who looks like a good patsy and just frame them. And then if there's another murder, it's a copycat. And
Nice.
I'm like,
Wow.
I can see my whole game like deteriorating.
Oh,
And then
I had wow.
then
Wow.
the guy who's playing the tank, who
Yeah.
has more weapons than everyone else in the group, looks at them and says, "Who the heck are we going to find somebody to frame?" And everyone looked at him, and he went, "Shit!"
Oh.
That's it. The fatal mistake.
There was a
I,
10-minute. There was a 10-minute firefight, and the game was over. And
Wow.
and everyone was dead except the guy who hid behind a table and filmed the whole thing.
Oh my god, that's brilliant. That's great.
In
That
our
is so great.
in our game, because we had two different permutations of that game I said we had of PF that lasted for like about 6 years. It started out with a different guy running it. And originally that centaur in the cover of my book and the guy with the rifle and the pistols were two characters I played. I rolled two characters because we were short on actual players. So I rolled the werewolf hunter and the centaur sorceress, and they were my player characters. It ended up that the party liked the two characters so much that when the game ended up being carried over to another DM, they freaking literally asked me to keep them as party NPCs. And the centaur ended up with half the party calling her mom because she was like 30 years old, but she's like the pragmatist in the party. So every time someone would come up, they would stop and they deferred to this sorceress, and she's like, "Why? Why do I always have to make these decisions? What's wrong with you?"
I love it.
That's amazing.
Hijinks.
All right, we are coming to the end of. I thought we were going to be done an hour ago.
Well,
Considering
I
it
got
was
some
our first
questions
stream.
about SLA Industries really quick, if I can jump in.
Yep, and then we'll do our quick outros and.
Well, first of all, you said to remind you about playing raw before starting the house rule.
Yes, that's
Oh,
right.
okay.
So we trial ran the second edition recently, and what I did was I got I always figure 5 is about the perfect number for SLA Industries.
Okay.
4 will do, 6 will do, but 5 is perfect. So I could only get 4 because one called out at the last minute, had to work.
Oh.
And they were very experienced players. I set up a huge battle board. I did do a whole lot of prep. And what we did was we planned out like a 10-hour session.
Oh,
and
jeez.
we would play for 2 hours, and then we would sit down and say, okay, are there any issues we're finding so far?
Yeah.
Is there anything that needs to be changed? Well, no, I'm concerned about this rule. It doesn't seem to be going very smoothly, but let's keep going. Maybe it's just we haven't played this. We play another 2 hours, we'd stop,
Makes sense.
go over it.
Yep.
And about halfway through, we'd start tweaking rules, and we try it for 2 hours. And by the time you're done, you've played it through the way it's supposed to be, and you figured out like where the changes are that you think ought to get made. And I usually do that with any new game that I'm thinking about making part of my regular rotation, and it works really well. But you have to find 4 or 5 people that have 10 hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so jealous of you. Like, our group
great
broke up like 10 years ago, and I've not been able to put together another one.
Well, understand that there are people that drive 2 hours one way to come to my games.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Yeah, I
when
definitely understand that.
when we have a really long set, like yesterday when we did New Year's, like they sleep. We have couches, we have guest rooms,
Yeah.
and they just like we had a Saturday. My husband just said he wasn't going to work overtime, and they showed up at 10 o'clock, and we played to 8.
Yeah.
And
Like
we ordered pizza.
technically we have 3 players here. Like a DM and 2 players, I guess if you want to get technical, which we've done it that way before. But the problem is my wife rarely, by the time she's off of work, has the time or brain power to get involved in it anymore.
Yeah.
So we haven't
See,
really been able to put much together anymore.
Yeah.
I find it really restores my brain power because I tend to do so much that's kind of tedious that being able to really be creative. Whoever has the cat is driving my cat insane.
I'm so sorry. He's over there being a dipshit. He's just being a weirdo. I can't help
She's
it.
she is snuffling my speakers.
Oh no. So after
Jet,
after
will you
doing
calm
the
down,
big
please?
the
No.
big 10-hour session, did you guys decide you liked the changes that second edition introduced better than the first edition, or did you end up house ruling a lot of first edition stuff into second edition?
There a little bit of both. We loved
Okay.
the new races.
Mm-hmm.
We all agreed that the Ebons should not be allowed.
Not a playable character anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if you had like one Ebon in a party, it would be one thing. But once you start allowing it, that's what everyone wants to play.
That's what everyone wants to
because
them playing.
I've seen
Yeah.
that before.
The
Yeah.
Jedi problem.
Oh my god. Oh.
There was
It just becomes the meta, doesn't it? It's the meta character, the meta build.
So the one thing that we ruled out immediately is that in first edition, the guy who runs this whole world seems to be immortal, and nobody really knows why he's still alive. It's been hundreds of years. He started the company that did this whole thing.
Mr.
And
Slayer,
in it,
right?
yeah, and
God.
in a room somewhere, he has this guy that he keeps drugged and asleep all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the first edition, there's this huge mystery around who this guy is and how he ties into Mr. Slayer's power.
Mm-hmm.
In the second edition, they have totally taken the mystery out.
What? They
And
did?
and the idea is that the guy is an insane psychic, and that none of the world of Mort really exists. They are
Right.
all a fiction of they're all his imagination, and that as soon as he wakes
Okay.
up, so Mr. Slayer is keeping him drugged
To keep
in
the
order
dream
to keep
going.
I'm not sure if I
was-
like that or not.
I was going to ask how you felt about the truth, because that's how I heard about SLA Industries. Somebody in a forum years ago was ranting about the truth, and that was my whole introduction to it. So I was wondering, like, how? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No, I liked it much better when it was a mystery.
Okay.
Like,
I'm
there was-
so sorry about the cat. He's decided to be a jackass.
That's all right. Apparently
Nah,
he
it's
said
all right.
something. Apparently he said something rude because she turned around and walked off in a huff.
There you go. So you guys got rid of that whole, or you took it in a very different direction. At least it sounds like you.
We basically just said we're going to keep the first edition mystery.
Gotcha.
I actually prefer it
That's
that way.
cool.
I don't know if I
Yeah.
like that second edition change.
Yeah, well, and it gets into like, so wait a minute, your dream is keeping you asleep? Like,
Right.
It's too Emperor of Mankind with extra psychic shit on the side.
yeah, but
The problem
All right.
I've got with that kind of a scenario though, it just makes everything within that dreamt realm throwaway.
Yeah, it really
Doesn't
the stakes are
matter.
kind of gone at that point. Nothing
Yeah.
matters. I actually
Nothing
agree with
matters.
that.
yeah, because you can say, well, your players don't know that, but the fact is that your characters don't know that, but your players are going to know, and it's going to make them care less about their characters.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. Where are
Yep.
your stakes for survival or success at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just
You're
a
not going
dream
to
and
want to invest in anything.
well, and the other thing is that in second edition, the implication is he's beginning to wake up.
Oh, so is this a Cthulhu thing now?
Mm.
Cthulhu wakes up,
no.
world ends.
Pretty much. But what it did do was it allowed them, like, now he's beginning to have nightmares, and so there's
goody.
like they also added in some weird supernatural bad guys and ghosts and things like that, and I was like,
Okay.
So they're
no.
using him to kind of influence reality in second edition, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they wanted to make it weirder, and I was like,
Uh.
if I was going to do that, I'd just run Cult, which is
Yeah.
another game
Yeah.
I will probably cover at some
I'm
point.
aware of Cult actually, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, they basically tried to like roll Cult into SLA Industries. I liked SLA Industries
jeez.
because it was a very grounded sci-fi dark.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Mm.
basically, somebody said it was like Cyberpunk. it's basically a horror version of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what it's supposed to be. So, but all right, it is 8 o'clock. So if everyone will tell us where you can be found and what you're doing, and
My fucking cat.
thank
I'm
you,
so sorry.
No, he's all right.
Tomby.
The
Where will we
master is
find you?
restless.
Where will we
Right,
find
okay.
you? What are you doing?
So tomorrow, well, it's actually Thursday for me now. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. So later on this evening, I will be playing Party Animals with the community over on the Toppy channel with the Muppets. Back to Grand Theft Auto tomorrow afternoon, Friday, with the chaps with a few beers in us. Into the weekend, doing some stuff with the wife. So, going to see an episode of 2T's podcast over on the
Nice.
weekend, as well as the Sunday Spotlight, shouting out small streamers, small creators, and generally having a good old time about it. Final Fantasy 14 follows after that on the Sunday, but you'll find me on all platforms pretty much every day, 8 o'clock onwards, UK time in the evening. UK, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitter, and Twitch.
And thank you again for all of your help in getting this set up. You were
No, you're more than welcome anytime. It's been an absolute pleasure to come on.
you were vital. Alleged.
Yeah, I can be found in Yarnwitch Live's Peanut Gallery on a on a semi-regular basis. I don't have a YouTube channel of my own of any kind, but yet she's yelling at me from the other
Fix
room.
it.
We
Yeah,
just got to get
shouting
good
at you now.
Wi-Fi in the basement dungeon, and then it'll be fine. But yeah, I can be found being a Peanut Gallery, and her background on her channel. She right now is streaming live Monday through Saturday. Yarnwitch Live. You can find it on YouTube. And yeah, this has been a lot of fun. And thanks for having me on. It's been great to chat with you guys and meet you guys and have the whole discussion. I've learned some stuff. Definitely curious to check out SLA Industries. I know I have some gamers in my group who would absolutely love how over the top that is. So I might have to track that down and give it a go someday when I have time. But
Someday.
I just got a Foundry membership, and I'm sort of hoping I can figure out how. I don't think SLA Industries is
nice.
supported, but I'm hoping I can figure out a way to jury rig it in for.
I
some online
vaguely
games.
know of Foundry, but I don't remember if I ever saw SLA Industries on there anywhere.
It's not, but you can kind of jury rig some stuff. Like I wouldn't be able to do character sheets, but I
Best
could
of luck on
probably-
that one.
I could do maps and stuff. I'm good at jury
And I'm
rigging.
stoked to check out this Final Fantasy box too. I didn't really know about it, and the fact that they have some free resources on their website, that looks freaking awesome. So yeah, been fun to learn stuff.
Sounds good.
But, yeah, thanks.
Awkward
All right.
silence.
Well, I once again I was trying to my cat was going nuts and I forgot I muted myself.
I am so sorry. That's my
Technical
fault.
difficulties and feline difficulties. Both.
Well, she doesn't make any noise, but she does like to stomp on my keyboard. So
Oh god. There are times I actually, when I'm doing a stream and I have the laptop running here in the other room, I have to have my wife put our boy in like the big old cat pen here because he will come over here and try to do a tap dance routine on my laptop keyboard.
You're paying attention to something that's not them. This problem must be rectified.
She wants food. So
Farv, okay. Hey,
tell us where we can find you.
So I have a YouTube channel called Farvithian Guard. We do 5 days a week. We have recorded gaming videos come up. We do streams on Mondays and Thursdays. Sometimes we do stuff on other days, but we usually announce that in our little, social community tab, whatever, on YouTube. And I also tend to announce that stuff on my Twitter, which is just Farvithian, @Farvithian on Twitter, blah, 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 all that good social media crap. I have a book called The Farvithia Chronicle, which is what my channel's named after, so you don't think it's the other way around. The book came out before the channel, technically. And that's a fantasy novel. Well, the first novel in a fantasy series. The second one's going through the copyright process before I get it published. Unfortunately for me, because of monetary issues, it's available through Amazon because I have to go through Amazon Publishing because I I know I don't have much money. I have to take what I can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a financial issue. I had publishers contact me, but they always want me to dump money into the publisher, and I can't afford that, unfortunately. So I do what I can. I want to get the books out. I don't even really care about the money. I don't charge that much for it. It's like $5 for a 400-page ebook and like $20 for the hardcover. So it's not expensive, really, for as much as I've got in there. It's going to be the same with the sequels. I'm not going to raise the prices. I don't have any reason to. I just want people to read it. That's honestly the main reason I'm doing it. But if I don't put a
Well,
price tag on it, Amazon's like, pfft.
Mhm.
So I got to put something on there.
so Farv will be my indie author interview in February, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I have an Excel sheet, but unless I'm looking at it, I can't keep track of my own life these days.
I don't blame
Uh,
you.
so that'll be the first
Yep.
Monday. That'll be the first Monday of February at 6:30. So if
Which is
anyone's interested in
fantastic because the last of my VA appointments are done by then.
if anyone is interested in learning more about his first and upcoming book, please come back.
Awesome.
And thank you for being here as well. I am the Eclectic Goat, obviously. And I am going to be doing this every Wednesday for the foreseeable future at 6 o'clock. The first Monday of every month, I will be doing indie author interviews. And this coming Monday, I will be interviewing Lance Nielsen on his Silver Screen Journeys, which
Yep.
just recently came out. It's the first nonfiction book I've had time to read in quite some time that was not about goats. And and it's been great. I have so many questions to ask him about his childhood memories of all of these movies that I never got to see on the big screen. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope you'll all be there. I want to
And to
thank
be
everyone.
fair, Yarn Witch, their prescription because the light hurts my eyes. So
Ah.
don't feel bad.
One thing you have to do, Goat, when you interview him, ask him about his ticket stubs.
Oh,
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
I had that conversation with him. I was like, "How do you remember all of this stuff? I don't remember
Yeah.
a movie I saw 5 years ago."
wow.
It's
And
obscene when he pulls out these ticket stubs
Really cool.
yeah,
of pretty much every film he's watched.
Wow,
he is
that
quite
is wow.
he's quite the collector. It's really fascinating.
Yep.
And he has pictures of some of the old theaters, and the architecture is
Oh.
Oh,
so
wow.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's
So
fantastic.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So I hope that you will all come back next week, both Monday and Wednesday. And my next video, which for some reason kind of got put on the back burner for like 2 months, will also be out
Wow.
this month. That'll be The Book is Better for the Green Mile. And you can
Yep.
find me on Discord and YouTube and Twitter under the Eclectic Goat. So please give me a shout out.
Thank
And
you very much indeed.
everyone have a wonderful night, and thank you again.
You as well.
Night, everybody. Have a great
Bye all.
night.
Good night.
Meet me at the tavern, have a drink or two. I'm the eclectic goat, and I'm here to gather